This video is sponsored by you, links for the channel are in the description. Hello there, Arknights most hated YouTuber here, once again not being pregnant but always delivering. When it comes to an Arknights top 10, it is as difficult as the average area in Silksong. This is because, due to how varied and situational Arknights can be, you can't just point at DPS charts and make a list from there. Everyone has a use somewhere, and even the top 1 operator in this list could prove entirely useless in some select stages. So now more than ever, the list is very interchangeable. Don't think of the positions as set in stone. There is arguments to be made by smarter people than the average YouTube commenter to shift around basically everyone here into different positions, including first place. Now, does that mean that 10th place is the same power level as 1st place? No, you goddamn ape, are you fucking stupid? Especially nowadays, the top units are all so strong that putting them in a clear-cut ranking is not only impossible, but as idiotic of a task as finding a Blue Archive fan into women his age. Of course, there is a difference between 10th and 2nd place, but again, you can make solid arguments for everyone here. Take the exact placements in this list as more of a suggestion, knowing anyone here can be shifted around by 1 to 3 positions, upwards or downwards. Another very important thing to mention is that this list takes into consideration the entire game, which means some placements are here due to how good they are in casual play. This list is not just about the endgame modes like high difficulty IS, it also takes into account what the majority of the player base actually engages with, that being event stages, random side modes, and main story stages. Number 10. Ascalon. What a turn of events, huh? If there is anything I learned from Ascalon and Ines, it's that no matter how many times you correct a mistake, people will still use it as a gotcha. I feel in the community people know that Gormagala looking ass over here is strong, but few realize just how strong she is. The thing with Ascalon is that she combines both great damage and great crowd control. Usually you only have one of those. Even someone like Wis'Adel, who does have good crowd control, I wouldn't define as having great crowd control, lest we count pulverizing half the map. What this translates to is that entirely on her own, Ascalon can hold half the map or sometimes the entire map with skill 1 or skill 2. You can put her down and entirely ignore that lane sometimes. Skill 1 is essentially Mizuki's skill 1 when it comes to damage numbers. However, unlike the breeding stock over here, Ascalon very often does not need a blocker behind her. This is even truer with skill 2. At an uptime of 63%, which is fucking insane by the way, she can lock down entire lanes on her own. In other words, enemies have a really difficult time getting past her, and this is just Ascalon on her own. Once you account for the fact there is 11 more squad slots, she also becomes one of the best supports in the game. That might sound weird at first, but slowing down enemy movement speed is arguably the best support effect in the game, right beside SP batteries. For one, it helps all your other operators get a lot more damage in, as the enemy will spend much more time in one tile. Second, it groups the enemies together. Enemies who enter the Smash Bros. Brawl Luigi negative zone will tend to all be in one place, which benefits AoE operators and at times can help displace some enemies. Third, it helps your operators stay alive, as melee enemies will take longer to reach your units. Fourth, at times it can give you more time to interact with enemy or stage mechanics. Finally, fifth, it gives you more time to charge skills. In this clear, for example, I used Ascalon skill 2 to stall and allow my Arturia to charge her skill 3. Ascalon's strength, therefore, is not just in the fact she can lock down half the fucking map on her own, but also in the fact she is an amazing support, making the rest of your team much better by proxy. Slowing down the enemy is an insanely versatile effect, with more uses and niches than the average 5-star operator. Number 9. Sure, maybe? I don't know. This is where the list really starts becoming a suggestion. For 9th and 8th, it's between her and Logos, and I really just cannot make my mind up. They do entirely different things, which arguably are equally as potent. Shu is the premium defender of this game, even above the dedicated tanks like Hoshiguma or Nian. Her healing is absurd, her tanking is absurd, and she has an incredibly powerful crowd control niche. Shu has a very simple job, and she is exceptionally good at it. There is not much to explain outside of S3. You put her down somewhere, and she might as well be a roadblock, except she also heals everyone around her better than most medics in the game. Going into skill 3, she pulls a Dio Brando on the enemy. This is an incredibly powerful effect, though not something you will use more than skill 1, I imagine. A trend you will notice in this list is that some operators have certain mechanics that completely nullify certain aspects of the game, or as I like to call it, good game design trademark. As for Shu skill 3, she completely negates unblockable enemies. Enemies that are able to dash through your blockers, like Anastasio or Clown Slayer, and in general, any enemy that through some mechanic is able to get past your operators. Not just that, but it's also an amazing burst heal. If you're running another healer, you can just keep Shu on skill 3 and be fine. Number 8, it's the guy I mentioned just a moment ago, Logos. Honestly, I am not quite sure if he's above Shu, but at the same time, I can't exactly put them in a shared spot since they're so different. So, 10 months ago, about Fanboy Logos, who I wish got a cross-dressing skin, I said he power-crept the entirety of the caster class, and I wasn't even joking. That statement is actually still kinda true to this day. Don't get me wrong, we have plenty of amazing casters, like Nymph, Eblana or Goldenglow, but Logos is actually in a league of his own. He is the best AFK caster, the best burst damage caster, the best multi-target caster, the best primal caster too somehow, and if you don't need the element damage, he has another incredibly good module. Logos does every niche, including a unique niche just to himself of slowing down projectiles and erasing them, and he is the best at all of them. Except for one. The only real competition Logos has is Lappland Alter, and really it's just because Logos is missing global damage, so Lappland fulfills that niche instead. In the end though, Logos just does more. Don't get me wrong, again, Lappland Alter herself is an outrageously strong operator, who, in all honesty, is probably even more brain-dead to use than Wis'Adel. In fact, in casual play, in everyday stages like event stages or main story stages, I feel a lot of you will gravitate a lot more towards Lappland Alter than Logos. Actually, know what? Fuck it. Lappland Alter shares the 8th spot with Logos. I decree as much right now. It's my video. I get to do whatever the fuck I want. Lappland is the casual play counterpart to him, and since this list takes into account the whole game, not just the endgame modes, she definitely should be here as well, just due to the sheer fucking amount of problems she solves for you at the press of one button. So, while Logos finds much more success in harder content and has every niche under the sun, Lappland Alter is the casual play caster queen. Thusly, she deserves to be in this list at a shared number 8. Number 7, Yato and Texas, but this time she's in a suit. Yato and Texas are here in a shared spot as well, because functionally they are the same operator. Texas is the arts Yato, and Yato is the physical Texas. But if I had to pick between the two, I would say Yato is the better operator, which is yet another easy Monster Hunter W. Now, if only they would fix their fucking game, that would be awesome. During skill 2, Yato gets an immunity to abnormal statuses, which, while completely random of an effect, is also very useful, as one of Texas's very few weaknesses is abnormal statuses. On skill 3, Yato gets a full second or so of invulnerability frames, which essentially means a ton of damage entirely risk-free. It also completely shreds bosses who take up multiple tiles, as the skill deals damage every frame it's active, if I recall correctly. So, at least in very high-end content, you'd much prefer Yato over Texas, but in the grander scheme of the whole game, including casual content as well, there is not much difference between the two. Their main appeal is having boss killer damage on an incredibly fast cycle. However, as much as they do change the way you play the game, with new operator releases, the normal way to play the game is now just better. This means that, truthfully, you will end up using Texas and Yato for a series of other things, mainly as panic buttons, or to take out specific enemies or structures elsewhere on the map, or to supplement damage where it is needed, which, don't get me wrong, is still an incredibly strong thing to do. Just because they got pushed down the list, it does not mean they are any less good than they were 11 months ago. They offer a level of control over the stages that very few other operators do. Number 6, Romania represent Ines. Wow, SUPAH, Ines is awfully low on this list. I know. Last time she was second place, and since then, nothing's really changed about her. Ines is still as bonkers as ever. With skill 2, she does 500 different niches, she's good at all of them, she cannot be hit by 99% of things in the game, and she is the best DP generator in the game. In the pre-Ines era, vanguards were balanced in a very simple way, though admittedly balanced is in quotation marks. Either your vanguard dealt solid damage and lane held but made little DP, or your vanguard did no damage and could not handle any enemy at all, but printed enough DP to crash the economy. Agents just do both. They deal great damage, lane hold, and make DP on par with flag bearers. It cannot be understated just how good Ines is. She's one of those operators you can take anywhere and you will get value out of her. So why is she in the bottom half? Well, let me take your attention to other operators who range from pretty good to meta. Mountain costs 11 DP, Tragodia costs 16 DP, Exya Alter costs 13 DP, Mlynar costs 12 DP, Archetto costs 14 DP, Haruka costs 13 DP, and Monster costs 18 DP. As it turns out, a lot of really good units are also really cheap. Excluding certain stages who are designed to fuck you over at the start, like H15-4, there is generally less of a need to have your entire team out immediately. And there definitely isn't a precedent in this game where better units cost more DP. Oh my fucking god! Not just that, but the next units on this list are just so outrageously good that Ines kind of gets pushed down in comparison. But you will notice that the stages where you need Ines also happen to be some of the hardest, and in that environment, Ines shines bright. Don't get me wrong, just because Ines is in the bottom half of the list, she's still an insanely strong operator you should get your hands on as soon as you can. She's gonna be in shop soon. Remember, this is a top 10 best operators out of more than 350. Everyone in this video is shockingly powerful. At number 5, with the steel chair, Monster and Haruka. Another shared spot, and this one is for very much the same reason as Logos and Lappland Alter. Monster is an incredibly powerful unit, as I will explain in just a bit, and Haruka is the casual play counterpart. While I would argue that Monster is definitely the better unit, Haruka is plainly the better choice in casual play, which just so happens to be, you know, a small 90% of the game. Haruka is the simplest to explain, much like Shu. She has a simple job and she is exceptional at it. She heals 3 units at once, gives 30% sanctuary for free, which is fucking insane, gives SP sometimes, and has so much healing per second, she embarrasses the entire medic class despite being an abjurer. Haruka is simply a different breed. She can heal up to 4 people through the Tallulah Flames with just sheer healing. She is the most comfortable and easy to use healer in the game. Not just that, but she is the first operator to make Levitate actually work, which in itself is a feat on par with that of mythological heroes. So far, everyone tried to use Levitate offensively, but Haruka realized Levitate is actually a defensive abnormal status. With skill 3, enemies that attack get levitated. This both nullifies multi-hit attacks, as those other hits will not go through, and it stops enemies from attacking entirely, as the vast majority of them cannot attack while levitated. She also has skill 3, which gives enough sanctuary to make everyone in range effectively immortal, and is Nightingale skill 3, already an outrageously powerful skill, but made even better, as it applies to physical damage as well, and has the levitate effect I just described. As for Monstre, the short of it is that she is both the best stat buffer in the game with skill 2, and also the best true damage dealer in the game with skill 3. As for skill 2, attack speed is the most beneficial buff on the most units in the game, and Monstre gives the equivalent of a King's New Lance relic for free, which is one of the strongest relics in IS, while also giving a small attack buff. It also isn't on just one unit, but upwards of 3, while also providing great healing on par with burst healers like Eyja skill 3. Skill 3 bypasses the one root issue that has been plaguing every other true damage dealer in this game, that being the fact it was simply better to use a physical DPS or an arts DPS instead, since they had bigger numbers. Thusly, true damage only found a use in very specific circumstances, where dodge was prevalent or where insane defensive stats were involved, leaving itself as the only viable option. Monstre, on the other hand, is actually just good. She's worth using over physical and arts damage operators because she offers so much more than the true damage. She's a tank, she heals still, she hits 3 enemies in the entire 3x3 around her on quite a good uptime, there's the attack buff still. Now that I got my hands on her, I can't describe just how good and comfortable to use this skill is. Do not write it off just because every other true damage has been niche so far. Number 4. Ulpipi. Ulpianus is the definitive mechanic ignorer in Arknights. In the shoe segment, I spoke of operators who get to ignore certain aspects of the game, and Ulpianus is the poster child of that. This motherfucker ignores so much shit, it's like a divorced dad with child support. This is mainly because of 2 things. The first is his talent, healing him when he receives damage. In fact, this is just defense but better, because if the damage is higher than the healed amount, it just functions like defense. But if the damage is lower than the healed amount, then he heals from taking damage. The second is his HP pool as wide as the Pacific Ocean. The best tank in the entire game is not a defender, but a guard with 0 defense. The things this man can take without as much as a shrug would be enough to kill Goku. The military could directly nuke him, and he would still have 3/4 of his HP left. And I hear what you're thinking. Doesn't he need Gladiia to achieve heaven and become immortal? No, not at all. Half the time he can survive entirely on his own, and if he can't, thanks to his module, you can pair him with literally any medic in the game and it works. Gladiia is his best companion. She's not actually required. Though you should build Gladiia just for Ulpianus, because with Gladiia and skill 2, he goes from the best tank in the game by far to literally just cannot die to anything. And if the stage has any form of DOT at all, you don't even need a medic. Be it the dirty water in the shoe event, Talula's flames, the poison mist, anything else at all, he's gonna eat that shit up like a gourmet meal. A lot of you sleep on Ulpianus skill 2, and that is unacceptable. I get skill 3 is cool and poggers, but skill 2 is also outrageously OP. Everything I described so far is with skill 2. Because he's not just the best tank in the game, he's also one of the best boss killers in the game. This motherfucker does it all. Of course, if you want him to boss kill, skill 3 is the way to go. It stuns, it makes him get closer so he can beat the shit out of the enemies, it has AoE on impact, and it still allows him to tank some crazy shit. Hey, SUPAH from the even future here, in the sense that I literally uploaded this video for members only and then realized I omitted something very important, so I'm uploading a second version of the video. Anyway, Ulpianus skill 3's deployment has a lot of broken shit baked into it by virtue of Arknights' spaghetti code, in the sense that mainly in IS it breaks a lot of things. For example, it can re-trigger a lot of relics and effects. But in general content, it can, for example, completely remove elemental damage. You know, the little circle that fills up, it just gets completely refreshed. So yeah, there's that too. It mainly matters in IS, but this is very important to mention, and I can't fucking believe I forgot about it. But even with skill 2, he does unreal damage, making him also one of the best lane holders in the game. He is one of the best, or the best, at 3 of the main roles in the game. Oh, we are on the podium now, Tragodia! Tragodia is difficult to explain how good he is. A lot of what he does can only be appreciated after you have a great amount of game sense and instinctual game knowledge. You see, you need a high IQ to enjoy Tragodia. First, we need to talk about his element, Nervous Impairment. On paper, this might be the best element. What it does is that it stops the next 3 enemy attacks. As in, they will try to attack, get through about half the attack animation, and then have a small seizure. There is no time window for this, it's just the next 3 attacks whenever they happen. Keep in mind, Tragodia's talent 2 reduces enemy attack speed a little bit, making this even better. So, just out the box, this means that Tragodia has incredible stalling baked into his kit, which his skills expand upon. As for skill 3, this is essentially Arturia skill 3, but for his own element. This will lock down the entire area he covers, keeping every enemy stuck for its full duration and then some. Not just because it applies a lot of nervous impairment, but also because once the element is applied, he will summon a Cage of Chaos on the ground tile it was triggered on. This Cage of Chaos can block all enemies in that tile, and takes 3 hits to be destroyed. They don't have an HP bar, they take any 3 hits. Now, since the enemies can't fucking attack but are forced to attack since they are blocked by the summon, you can imagine this is a very, very effective stall. They have no attack animations and they must attack. These cages can be refreshed or respawn if the element is triggered multiple times, and they can spawn on undeployable tiles. Skill 3 on its own would be an amazing skill, locking down an entire area while dealing solid damage, but that's not why he's here. Skill 2, Infinite Duration, increases his attack speed and lets him summon a cat that attracts all enemies to the position of the cat, and then explodes when touched or a certain time passes, dealing a shit ton of arts and elemental damage. Let's go through what this means. Due to the increased attack speed, Tragodia can, with just his basic attacks, permanently stall certain slow attacking enemies, like the UFO drones or the golems. The cat has a lot of implications by virtue of being the best enemy displacement tool in the game. The sky truly is the limit. You can be a caveman and just use it as an AoE bomb that deals very good damage, or you can stall enemies a fuck ton by forcing them to go in circles, or you can direct enemies to more favorable tiles. Or you can move enemies away from certain tiles, like the damage absorption drones from chapter 14, yes, this works on aerial enemies. Or you can retreat it manually to have it explode on command. Or you can use Silver Ash to get it sooner. Or you can use it to synergize with your skill 3, because that works for some fucking reason, meaning the ritualist of a different element synergizes better with you than Blaze Alter. Or, since elemental damage is essentially true damage, you can use it for that niche as well. Really, this skill goes as far as your imagination. Back during the Yato and Texas segments, I spoke of control over the stage, and Tragodia is the ultimate embodiment of that. Number 1, but not quite, fell just short of it, Wis'Adel. Yeah, not number 1 anymore. Though, even if I believe there is one operator stronger than her, I still think most of you will gravitate towards Wis'Adel as your most used easy button operator. It's a situation like Myrtle. On one hand, Myrtle was objectively, mathematically power-crept when Elysium came out a couple months later, and yet, on the other hand, she is still the most used operator in the entire game according to dev stats. I feel the same is true for Wis'Adel. What she does for the casual player, no one else can replicate. It's not just the damage. In fact, Mlynar with the new module and Lemuen skill 2 both out-damage Wis'Adel, and neither are in this list. It was never about the damage. Having big ooga booga damage numbers does not qualify you anymore for the top 10. Wis'Adel has so much more that helps her be what she is, namely the permanent camouflage, making her immune to anything that isn't AoE damage, the crowd control, the high hit count, an AoE big enough to cover from Argentina to Venezuela, a skill specifically for attack speed buffs. really anything you could ever ask for to get an easier experience. I don't even joke when I say Wis'Adel is completely and ironically an accessibility option. I don't think I have to explain what she does. All of you know Wis'Adel is infamous for a reason, and even if there exists someone better now, I think she will remain the premier casual play option in the entire game by far. Before first place, here's some quick honorable mentions. Archetto and Hoederer are not people you expect to be here, but certainly should, and it's solely thanks to Archetto's IS module, which might just be the most broken module in the entire game, bar none. It single-handedly makes offensive recovery a meta strategy in IS. Hoederer, in the same token, is probably the best guard in the game in IS, thanks to S1 and said module. Bagpipe and Myrtle are back again. Due to agents existing, Flagpipe has lost a lot of value, but it still has its place in the game and is quite strong. Mlynar, with the new module, literally outdamages Wis'Adel. It's not enough to be in the top 10 nowadays, but it's still incredibly strong. Lemuen is much in the same boat as Mlynar. She also outdamages Wis'Adel, she has an orbital cannon, and pseudo-global range. Really, I'm just glad that she's allowed to just be named Lemuen and they didn't give her some dumbass fucking codename like Silentium, Hot Wheeler, Angel Danger. Eyja Alter may have become homeless ever since Haruka is in the game, but she still has her niche. She completely nullifies elemental damage, and she has global healing, which can be very useful sometimes. Arturia also became homeless the moment Tragodia stepped into the game, but you know, she still does her thing. She's still a very strong operator. I don't want to say that just because Tragodia is here now, Arturia is any worse. But since Tragodia is here, she doesn't really fit in the top 10 anymore. Finally, number 1, it's Eyja Alter. Is this gonna be a trend, like every new anniversary we get the new strongest operator in the game? Okay, so here's the deal. I don't explain it very well in the video, so SUPAH from the future here. I am not fully confident on Eyja Alter being better than Wis'Adel, because while on paper I definitely feel like Eyja is the better operator, in practice things are very different. Despite the fact that Eyja is better, most people will still use Wis'Adel the most, will still borrow Wis'Adel the most, and that's for the simple reason that I explained before. Wis'Adel is the ultimate premium casual option. What she does for everyday stages, not even Eyja can do. So, really, if you don't really engage with the hard content, or if you just want the easy mode button, Wis'Adel very much is still number 1 for you. In the environment that you've created for yourself, Eyja is number 2 and Wis'Adel is number 1. So, like much the rest of this list, take it with a grain of salt. It's not like last year where Wis'Adel is the definitive number 1. In this case, Eyja is not the definitive number 1. Even outside of a casual play, you can make an argument for Wis'Adel. Alright, so here's the thing. Skill 2 and Skill 3. Hey, actually, stop that. Super from the future here again. I realized I don't explain why I think Exusiai is better than Wis'Adel, and the reason is actually pretty simple. Both of them offer incredibly powerful damage that annihilates anything in front of them. The difference is that Exusiai also offers utility. Believe it or not, La Cucaracha over here has one weakness. And that is the fact she doesn't have any innate stat reductions in her kit, meaning that when stats get high enough, she can get stat checked. Now, stats this high can only ever happen in CC, which is like 2% of the entire game, so it's not really a weakness that actually matters. But still, on the other hand, Exusiai is not really affected by this because she has skill 3. So, even when skill 2, her damage skill, gets stat checked, she still has the utility of skill 3 to fall back on. Again though, if you're a casual, this doesn't fucking matter, and Wis'Adel is still the better unit for you. You know about skill 3 most likely. It's what makes her unique, and part of why she is so insanely strong. She is the best operator in the game, and by far the most versatile one as well. Skill 3 gives her a summon that allows her to immediately deploy a ground operator, ignoring their deployment time. This, on its own, is much like Tragodia skill 2, the limit is your imagination. Operators who retreat themselves, like Surtr and Nearl Alter, no longer have that weakness. You can redeploy operators across the map in an instant. If you fuck up and someone dies, you can just respawn them. Using penance, you can generate DP with this. What the fuck? And most importantly, you can use skills twice in a row. SP batteries are some of the strongest effects in the game. Arknights is a skill game. You pick operators based on their skills, not based on their basic attacks. So, effects that give easier access to those skills are some of the best in the game. And there is no stronger version of this than literally getting to use skills twice in a row. Keep in mind, this Exusiai skill 3 redeployment does not cost DP, and it gives back all the initial SP. But that's not all. She's not just an incredibly layered, high-end gameplay operator with enough niches to rival the 5-star rarity in its entirety. She also has a completely brain-dead, casual play-friendly, high-damage skill. Skill 2. In all honesty, this is the one you're gonna be using the most. At a pretty average cost of 30 SP, she steals 70 attack speed from the ally in range with the highest aggro. So either the last deploy one or Mlynar. Gets 35 ammo, gives enough barrier to tank the Patriot Spear, and pulverizes everything in her range. She does not need to steal attack speed to activate the skill, by the way. And you may think that is a downside, but no it isn't. For one, this skill is so bonkers, batshit fucking insane, that Exusiai on her own more than makes up for it. And second, you can have her steal attack speed from a dummy unit like Lancet, or a defender who doesn't need the attack speed anyway. You get one of the best, if not the best, boss killing skill in the game on 30 SP. For comparison, Mlynar is 42 and Wis'Adel is 50, and that was already really good for what those skills did. So now you have an arguably even better skill at a much cheaper SP cost. This skill is so easy to use, requires so little thought, so little time to charge, and it's the best damage in the game if you have Warfarin. And that's all, max out your Gummy, bye. Hey, what's up gang? I did not plan for this video to be 40 minutes long. It's just something that sort of happened to me. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I know there is some of you out there who really like the long form videos, so I hope this satiated your unquenchable hunger at least for a little bit. Anyway, special thank you to Kino, Artjack, Kami, I love Wis'Adel, Bomb Ninja, Mirak, Raditz, Good of Leon, Living Shad, Apollo T, QX10, Mr. Lair, Tanimal Raptor, Seishin, Joseph D, Zephyrinix, Nupo, Lizard King, Nemotic, Nerd Rage, Andre Mula, Chris Ho, Camon Hiren, Maxiosess, Kevin Enquire, Larmendra, Shimali, Ununuk, Yvune C, The King of Harems, Jixter, that guy with two names, Light Nero, Chromachan BDJF, and Bosidal. That's all for now. I want you to imagine my dread when scripting this video, when I was like, oh, this is kinda long, let me check the pages. Oh, this is 8 pages, it's the same length as the fucking year 3 video, which is coming this year, by the way. It's coming in 2025, I swear to God.